Hi, it's Sherry. Welcome back to Canterbury Cottage. I have to be honest with you. I have never put up a Christmas tree before Thanksgiving, let alone 3 trees, until this year. And that's because I know you'll be putting up your tree in the next couple of weeks. And I wanted to share some ideas with you before you get started. And of course, some of my best ideas are free. First, let me just say, there is no right way to decorate a tree, and I do things differently every year. In today's video, I'll be showing you how I decorated 2 trees, a green one and a white one. For the green tree, I went with a rustic woodland theme. And for the white tree, I went with what I am calling a winter woodland wonderland theme. The third tree is a small silver tree decked out with my vintage ornaments. So if you want to see that tree, you'll have to stick around until the end. Let's put on some Christmas music and let's get started.
The cheapest thing you can do to make your tree look great is to take the time to fluff every branch. Remember, your tree has been smashed in storage for a year. It is a tedious process, but easier to do while you are assembling the tree than if you wait until later and try to do it once you've started adding decorations to the tree. Just start at the bottom and work your way up and around the tree. I prefer a sparse, natural-looking tree with lots of room for ornaments. Next, I like to add various stems, sticks, and berries to add textural interest to the tree. Over the years, I have purchased red, white, and green berries to use on my trees. I buy them when they're on sale, and I cut them apart to make them go farther. To add additional texture, I like to use sticks from my yard. Sometimes I use them as is, and sometimes I spray paint them white. I just throw a bunch of sticks in a box, spray one side, flip them over, and spray the other side. Sometimes I even save them and use them the following year. I also like to use dried flowers from my yard, or in the case of these hydrangeas, my neighbor's yard, to add an unexpected surprise to my trees. I had some dried eucalyptus stems that I wasn't using, and so I decided to stick those in one of my trees too. I wished I'd had more because it looked and smelled really nice. I also like to group larger sticks together in a bundle and wire them together and attach a pine cone. I just lay these on the branches sporadically throughout the tree. These have a more rustic look than the spray-painted branches. Wrapping your tree in ribbon is so popular right now, and I love ribbon, but I also prefer a more natural rustic appearance. And so instead of adding ribbon to my tree, I add ribbon to other things that I put on my tree. For example, I made small bows and attached them to the stick bundles I had put on the green tree. I also added bows to some poinsettia stems that I put on the white tree. These stems were from a large poinsettia plant that I found at the thrift store and cut up into individual pieces. If you like the idea of using flowers, keep an eye out for ones in your color scheme. They don't have to be poinsettias. These pine cone stems still had black and white ribbons from a previous tree, so I changed out the ribbon to go with this year's color scheme. I also added small red velvet bows to some lanterns on the green tree. Next, I like to add oversized ornaments or other small objects to the center of the tree near the trunk. This not only conceals the fake trunk, but also contributes to an overall layered look. For my green tree, I decided to use some simple birdhouses spray painted white to contribute to the woodland theme. And I used several inexpensive, sparkly snowball ornaments on my white tree. Next, I like to add those special one-of-a-kind ornaments in prominent locations before adding the rest of the ornaments to the tree. Then I am finally ready to add the bulk of the ornaments to the tree. I like to unwrap them all and lay them out to see what I have and group like ornaments together. And then I begin placing one type of ornament on the tree at a time. This way I can use the prettiest ornaments first and make sure that they are somewhat evenly spaced throughout the tree. I also like to have a variety of hooks to adjust the hanging length of different ornaments. Small dangling ornaments like snowflakes and icicles can get lost on a tree, so place them last on the tips of the branches. And it's okay if you add one to a branch that is already holding another ornament. This too will just add to the overall layered look of your tree. Creating ornament clusters is an easy way to add impact to your tree and to make use of all of those somewhat ordinary ornaments. Simply thread several ornaments onto a piece of florist wire. Then tighten the two ends of the wire together to create a cluster. Use the extra ends of the wire to attach it to a tree branch. After attaching it to a branch, I sometimes added another ornament or some small pine cones to sit on top of the cluster. I haven't used a store-bought tree topper in many years. I just fashion a tree topper out of sticks, berries, boughs, and just a collection of things that I already have on the tree. For the white tree, I used white berries, spray-painted sticks, a poinsettia, and some bows. To make a bow, first start by cutting a long piece of florist wire. Then make a large loop with your ribbon. Later, you'll cut this in half and it will become the two tails of the ribbon, so adjust the size of the loop accordingly. Pinch the spot where the ribbon overlaps itself and then create the first loop of your bow. Pinch the end of the loop and then twist the ribbon so that the pretty side is on the outside and create your second loop. Continue to pinch, twist, and loop your ribbon until you've created a bow the size that you desire. 7 loops is a common size. You may want to make the last loop smaller. This loop will become the center of your bow. Twist your florist wire around the center of the ribbon, the spot where you have been pinching, and twist it tight. Cut the ribbon still attached to the roll, about 1/2 inch from the wire. Fluff and shape your bow, and then cut the large loop in half to create the two tails for your bow. Do not cut off the extra wire. This is what you'll use to attach the bow to your tree. I glued some scrap wood pieces together in the shape of a star to create a rustic tree topper for the green tree. I cut some long, skinny sticks from a bush in my yard and wired them together in a bundle. I stuck these branches behind the star and used a little florist wire to hold them in place. I also made a small bow from red velvet ribbon and added this to the star too. To add a little more color to the top of the tree, I took a strand of Dollar Tree pip berries and cut it up. Then I loosely wrapped the pip berries around the sticks at the top of the tree. The stick bundles on the green tree were not standing out as much as I had hoped, and so I took them off and took them outside and sprayed them with some fake snow. I decided to use spray snow this time instead of white spray paint because it's only $1.98 a can, and I'm going to be throwing these sticks away when I take the tree down. Fake snow is not as messy as you think. I didn't even wait for it to dry before adding the sticks back to my tree. When covering the base of your tree, you can use a traditional tree skirt like the one I used around my white tree. In last week's video, I made this reversible skirt from a throw blanket I purchased at a thrift store for $1.99. If you missed last week's tutorial, I'll link it in the description box below. Of course, if you prefer, you could always buy a tree skirt to match your color scheme. For my green tree, I decided to make a tree collar to match my tartan plaid ribbon. First, I took 2 large cardboard boxes that were the same height. I removed all of the tape and completely unfolded them. Then, using a utility knife, I cut off all of the top flaps, but I left the bottom flaps because when I put the collar around the tree, it is the bottom flaps that will keep it balanced and standing up. One box was not large enough to go completely around the base of my tree, so I used 2 sections cut from a second box, cutting the top flaps off of it too. I used packing tape to join the 2 boxes together, overlapping them a little and applying tape to both sides. With the box lying flat on the floor, I applied spray adhesive to just the outside body of the box, not the bottom flaps. Then I spread a layer of batting over the adhesive, lining it up with the bottom fold mark. Once the box was covered, I cut off the batting, leaving about 2 inches extra across the top and sides. Then I flipped the box over to the back side, applied spray adhesive along the top and sides, and folded the batting over it. Flipping the box back to the front side, I was ready to add my fabric. I used a thrifted scarf that I purchased for $1.99. I cut it into 2 long strips. I made sure that I left a couple of inches of extra fabric at the top so I could fold it over the edge. I also made sure the fabric at the bottom went a couple inches past the fold mark. Then, once again, using spray adhesive, I applied the fabric over the batting. For a smoother look, I avoided spraying adhesive on the batting on the front of the box. Instead, I sprayed it along the top edge on the back side and along the top of the cardboard flaps, just below the fold line. I also folded fabric over the 2 ends. After testing out the collar, I realized that the flaps were larger than I needed. So using heavy-duty scissors, I cut a few inches off of each flap. If I had used taller boxes, you would not have been able to see the back side of them. However, I didn't have taller boxes, so I decided to clean up the back side using a scrap of red fabric from my stash. This time I used hot glue. I glued the right top side of the red fabric to the plaid fabric on the back, then flipped it over for a clean look. I cut the red fabric along the fold line and then hot glued the bottom edge and sides down. I folded and glued the sides under for a cleaner look too. Then I arranged my collar around the base of my tree. I overlapped the two ends a little and stuck a few straight pins through the cardboard to hold them in place. Then I decided it would look nice to add some buttons, so I hot glued 3 buttons on one of the front panels.
Well, I hope you got some new ideas to try out on your own tree. You'll have to let me know which tree was your favorite, the green one, the white one, or the little silver one with the vintage ornaments. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so very much for watching. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye for now.